Do you know what it's like to have a plan?
Sometimes.
Are you sure?
No.
Well, we're going to try and figure out what it means to have plans here today on episode 28. I think that's the number. We just did an episode. Yes,
Mm.
28 of Jared and Al Watch K-On! I'm Jared. That is Ann Ladium,
Hello.
the lover of ska.
Oh my god, don't slander me like this.
Nothing wrong with some ska.
There's a lot wrong with ska.
No,
There's
no,
a lot
no,
wrong with
no.
ska. Don't at me.
Everyone should at you for bad opinions about ska.
It's not it's not good.
I've seen ska live in person before.
Why?
I was at the Warp Tour and Real Big Fish was playing, and I went and saw them, and it was a fun time.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. The ska. Anyways, there's no ska in K-On! Unless someone out there has done some K-On! Remixes that like they've ska'd it up. I would be interested in that. Because that sounds very much up my alley. But anyways, we have taken a deviation in our episode routing as we are now checking out episode 27, the final episode of season 2. It's the OVA entitled Plan. It is the lead-in into the K-On! Movie, but takes place after episode 13. That is very confusing, but it all makes sense.
Yes, it does.
I promise you. We begin this episode, and Mugi has returned from her overseas trip in Finland, which they do not mention the country by name because I probably forgot where exactly they sent her. But she and everyone is at Yui's house, and she is giving them gifts from her vacation. They're all like snow globes, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, they're out of season. It's all right." And they basically talk about like, "Hey, we should go on a trip too." And Ui's like, "Well, me and Yui went on a trip when we were very little. We went overseas." And Yui's only memory of it is eating food,
Yep, she remembers the desserts.
as you do.
I mean, I do.
Then they decide like, "Hey, we should go on a trip."
Choo choo.
Shut up, train.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. They Aza's at home. She's feeding Tonchan, and she gets a text from Yui. She's very confused. She meets up with him at a fast food place, and they're like, "Oh, Mugi gives her gift first," and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking of going on a trip," and she's like, "Oh, that's what you meant by going overseas. Now this makes more sense." They also mention how they want her to come along too, and this is where they decide on, or they attempt to decide on where they want to go, because they go to a travel agency and look at all like these like pamphlets that have all fancy places on them. Azusa is like, "I want to go to New York because they have jazz there and Woodstock." Mio wants to go to Great Britain, to
She wants to walk on
England.
Abbey Road.
She does. Literally, they recreate Abbey Road and just have her walk across it. It's like, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Ritsu wants to go to Hawaii because that's the thing.
Yep.
Which I also find funny in this episode where like they keep saying like, we should go to America, the UK, Hawaii.
Yep.
Like Hawaii is also a part of America.
U.S. Yep.
There's also a good scene here where they're talking about going to America, and Yui's like, "Oh, America, that is the birthplace of Gita." It's like she's holding Gita up, and like in the background is like a crayon drawing of what she thinks America looks like.
Well, and the really part about this is that she's like, I want to join an air guitar competition. I'll take Gita with me. And they're like,
You can't. No,
air guitar.
the key word there is air guitar. You can't bring your guitar. Like,
No.
Mugi is nonchalant. She just wants to go wherever. And they do not decide yet, but they continue thinking about it. Also, they have a lot of time because it's still a while before they graduate, so they have time. Asuka goes to the bookstore. She runs into Nodoka, and Nodoka tells her that the student council is also thinking about going on a trip, but they're thinking about staying in the country, maybe going to Kyoto or somewhere. Nodoka also mentions how she wants to go overseas to a bunch of places. Specifically, one of them is Machu Picchu, which apparently Azusa cannot understand.
My Pikachu.
My Pikachu. No, Machu Picchu. My pizza. Nope.
My pizza.
Nodoka also is like, she makes me so nervous. Or Azusa says that about Nodoka.
Yep.
Then she runs into Ui, and Ui's buying a book for Yui. And then we go to Yui at home. She's studying. She literally turns around and picks up one of the pamphlets for like a hot second. And Ui walks in and is like, "You better be studying." She's like, I literally was just looking at it. I just took a break. I'm sorry." And then Ui gives Yui the book she got her, and they meet up the next day in a park. And Azusa's like late getting there, and the rest of them are already there. So she's like, let's do these techniques from this book I got. And it's just a bunch of self-defense techniques that they're being overly dramatic about.
Give me all your money.
Like when I was
Kick her in the shins.
when Azusa's rolling up, it's like Ritsu and Mio in a scenario. And like the end of it, she's like, "All right, Mio, run away!" And Mio's like, and almost like runs down Azusa.
Yep.
And then they have Azusa and Mugi do one, and then yeah, like you said, Mugi's like, "I'm a robber." Mwahaha.
So funny.
It's really good. And the entire time Azusa's like, "That's the book Ui got you, a self-defense book? What?" They take a break and they try and figure out if they would be able to get directions or just relay any kind of information to foreigners, which again brings up a interesting idea in this English dub of this Japanese anime.
Yep.
Where they make the declaration of, "Let's not speak Japanese now." Which also brings forth a funny thing where Yui just says, "No Nihongo." It's like, why?
Yep.
And then she starts saying like broken English and like other languages mixed together. It's a very strange thing, but it gets the point across. You won't. This will not be the last time we see this, obviously, as well, because we will. This is a thing that'll come up in the movie too. So
Nice.
it'll happen again. But yeah, like they try and do that, and then Yui at one point is just doing like charades to try and.
She's trying to like ask for water.
Yeah.
And then ask where the hotel is, and like at one point she's doing rain, and they're like, rain is water, but also like not getting across that we need water.
No. She is right though that hotel is the same in French. So they could easily say that, but they will not go to France. Spoiler alert. So that is information they will not need.
What do you mean it's the same in French?
It's kind of the same pronunciation in French
As Japanese?
as English.
Oh.
So it's yeah. Little
was like-
confusing on that aspect, yeah.
I was a little confused.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
While all that's happening, Mugi's like, "Oh, right. By the way, do you guys have your passports?" And they were like, nope.
Nope.
Yui looks at her old passport and is like, "I can't take this."
It's expired.
It's expired. So Yui and Nodoka are talking, and Yui's about to go get her photo ID done, and she's trying to convince Nodoka to also get a passport just in case you need one, which is like super mature thinking from Yui. It's very surprising.
No kidding.
It's like, wait, are you really Yui? They run into Miss Yamanaka
Probably
getting
Ui again.
do what?
I said it's probably Ui again.
Yep. They run into Miss Yamanaka getting photos taken as well because she has to get a gym ID, and then Yui just roasts Miss Yamanaka.
Yeah, they just like lay into her. It's like, man, this picture makes you look terrible. And like, yeah, you do need to go to the gym. Look at you. It's like, God, guys. Yui specifically.
So they talk about going overseas, and Miss Yamanaka talks about how she hasn't, and then he was like, "You should save that for your honeymoon." So yeah, that happens, and then they basically meet up again and make sure they all have like the information they need for their passports to get all those. There's like a scene where Mio's like going through everything that they need, and it's like 30 different items that you need. They get to the passport place, office, whatever, and everyone's like, "All right, do you have everything?" And then Rishi's like, "Wait, oh crap, she goes into her bag and's like, oh no, I forgot my handbook. And they're like, oh no. She gets her brother to come out and get it or give it to her. They decide to wait out in like the sun. And like, oh, this is so hot. And
why are we doing
Yui
this?
comes up with fans, and they're like, why are we outside? Let's go inside. And it's like, oh right, yeah. Yui wants to get ice cream afterwards. And then Ritu's brother comes. He calls her and is like, be more responsible, jeez. And then the rest of them are just like imagining what having a younger brother would be like, because after Yui like asks about like what Ritu's younger brother is like, and then Yui imagines Ui as a younger brother, but it's just Ui's head in like a male school uniform. It's like, what are you doing? So they try and get all that taken care of. Mio's the first one up, and her picture gets denied because she decided to put her hair in a bun.
Yep. So she'd look older.
And they're like, you can't do that. You need a space above your head in case you're hiding something in your hair. I'm hiding drugs in my hair in my passport photo. So she has to go get a new photo, which there's luckily just like a photo booth right around the corner. So they go do that. Mio's in there trying to get her picture taken, and she starts laughing over what the others are saying, and she's like, "Stop making me laugh!" They're like, "What? Sorry, we're just talking."
Just like retake her photos so many times.
She misses the second photo, and like she's like, "Oh, I gotta do it again." And then she goes for the second time, and then you just see a hand start fanning her. And she's like, "Yui, what are you doing?" Like, I thought it was hot in there. It's like, I'm fine. And then the second photo comes, and you see like a peace sign come through. It's like, Ritsu. And it's like, how do you know it was me? And then she misses it again, and then she has to get it a third time, and then they basically go off and get all their stuff taken care of, and then they go get ice cream. They enjoy some ice cream. They kind of talk again about where they want to go. They laugh at Mio's photos. And just trying to figure out where they want to go. And they also make mention that they're going to take a trip when Asa graduates as well. They can go anywhere.
Anywhere.
And then they go try and shop for some supplies, traveling supplies, even though they're still very much early on that. They make mention of how there will always be after-school tea time, which apparently, I guess this makes more sense in the Japanese version than the English dub.
Yes.
So Yui says that in English she would announce them as, "We are Hokugo tea time," and Asa instead replies, "Wouldn't that mean we are instead after school tea time?" And I think in here she says we're going to introduce ourselves as after school tea time, and I think Asa or someone says, "Wouldn't that be different in other languages?" So it's a kind of a way to get around it. Then she's like, "Hey, we'll be after school tea time anywhere we go." They go back to Yui's house and talk more about their upcoming trip, and Miss Yamanaka is there as well, very sad that she's not going. And then they take a picture of all their passports that they got. The episode ends with like a bunch of different photos that like Mio's taken, which makes sense kind of in a way that like it ends on that note with like all these different kind of like memories spread out behind it, because this is technically the final episode of the season. But in the context of we're watching it, it is a little, it's a little weird, but for that it does make sense. But that's it for the episode. We have one bit of trivia, which you've already kind of mentioned. The events of this episode happened before the movie. Which, yeah, of course. Like everything. Hey, spoiler alert. Pretty much everything in season 2 happens before the movie.
Wow.
With like one caveat. But we'll talk about that eventually, way down the line. But yeah, that's going to do it for Plan. We've planned. And then next time,
Plan bang.
we will go back. We're going to hit
Back in time.
We're going to hit the reverse.
Yup.
And go back to episode number 14, which is entitled Summer Classes or Summer Training, whichever you want to go for.
Mine says summer training.
The Wikipedia says Summer Classes, so it could be either one.
Summer classes makes more sense.
It does, yeah.
But, you know.
But that is what we were going to be talking about next time Also, we did get our first look at the new openings and endings.
Yes. Okay, so I like this opening better.
Mhm.
I like the animation of the opening a lot. I'm not sold on this song yet. We'll see. But the closing's real good. It's not Don't Say Lazy levels, like it's not that tier, but it's super, super good. And I love the art and I love the song and it's really great. And I think you're right. I think Mio fronted songs are more my style.
Makes sense.
You said it like one of the first things that we like when one of the first episodes we were watching, you're like, it's weird that you like prefer the Mio fronted songs. And it was like, oh, do I? And like now I'm like, yes, I do.
I think No Thank You is my favorite ending out of all of them.
It's really good.
Plus you saw it a little bit. You got a little bit of it spoiled for you when I showed you the Persona parody of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you had kind of a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the opening, especially because like the animation is just like them kind of having this like big party, and it
Yeah,
just
it's
seems like a
fun.
bunch of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. But yeah, those are the openings and endings we will be keeping with us until the end. Well, until the movie, I guess.
This is acceptable.
Yeah.
I will take that.
So there you go. But yeah. If you'd like more from us, go to seasonalcheckup.com or scc.cool. That's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like the Season Anime Checkup and Season Anime Checkup OVA. And you can find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. And you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. So we will get back on track next time as we discuss episode number 14, where summer happens and maybe you get some classes or some training. One of those two.
Wild. One of them.